Last year, I was given the opportunity to work with a creator full time for a salary of £80,000. So if you're in the US or you work in dollars, that's a little over 100,000. And for someone that just turned 18, that's something that I never really thought would happen from video editing. Like, I started this as a hobby, just making like shitty Fortnite videos, and to think that I'll be making this much from doing something that I started as a hobby. I mean, it's a dream that you've probably had for a while, right? To not only do what you love, but get paid a shit ton for it. I know for me it was the dream, but I want to tell you why that literally 6-figure contract would have fucked my career over, and why I'm so glad that after everything I didn't end up working with him long term. So it was about 6 months ago, and this creator reached out to me. He had about 4.5 million subscribers, and he told me that he's looking for an editor, you know, same old. And I think he offered at the time £60,000 for a full-time position, right? And I was like, am I really gonna be able to manage not only my college workload, but editing workload as well? So I was like, you know what, let's just highball this guy. If he says no, fair enough, I had to focus on college anyways. If he says yes, god damn, that's a 6-figure salary at 18 years old. So I told him that, and he said yes, which genuinely I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a hard no. We went through with the contract and everything, and the contract was for 5 videos a week, which if you've been editing, you know that's very much doable, especially if it's being paid a decent amount, right? We worked for about a week and a half, and I quit because I realized that sure, the money was good, sure I was getting paid a decent amount, sure it was content that was not too bad, but bro, I burnt out like a bitch. Me staying at home to get these 5 videos done a week, which was doable, but I had to sacrifice so much of my social life, which if you've seen my last video, you know I value a lot, and I think you should too, because it's just something we innately need as humans. I had to sacrifice pretty much my entire social life, and that's something I couldn't work with. Whether I tried to deal with it or not, I burnt out with literally 2 weeks of working with this guy. There's no hard feelings, we're still in contact, we still speak about like YouTube stuff all the time. Thank God we had an exit clause, which if you don't know what an exit clause is, it's in a contract where it says that either party can leave, and as long as everything's compensated for, the contract's terminated. So I let him know that, bro, I love working with you, you're such a nice guy, we've learned a lot from each other, but I'm not able to keep up with this workload. And he was a nice guy about it. Like, he genuinely just said, okay, cool, thank you for letting me know, and like, I appreciate you being honest about it. And there I was back on step 1, where I don't have a full-time job anymore, right? Like, I've gone back to this freelance like ad hoc basis of working with whoever I find. So on one side, I'm an 18-year-old still in college with a 6-figure income, and then the next day I had to leave it because I wanted a social life. And you might think I'm stupid, because for a lot of you right now, you might be thinking like a full-time job is literally like all I want in editing, to think that I started this as a hobby and making game videos, and now I'm doing this for like a stupid amount of money. And I was the same way, right? Like, a few days after we cancelled the contract, I was like, shit, have I just thrown away the opportunity of a lifetime? Have I just wasted the last 3 years of my editing journey? But looking back at it, I don't think I would have been where I am today if I went along with that contract. In fact, I don't think you'd be seeing this video right now. But what would have happened if I stayed? Like, you know how all these Sigma Alpha mindset guys just say burnout isn't real, just like grind through it. What would have happened? I would have burnt out even more, right? Like, of course I would have. Instead of, would have been like 2-3 months worth of burnout. And the reason I'm telling you all of this, it isn't to like scare you away from like full-time positions, because I think that's a reasonable goal, right? It's like, you started as a hobby, you then started doing some client videos of people, and you're like, shit, this actually has some potential, like I could be making money from this. And then you scale it up, and you're like, damn, imagine one day I could do this full-time. So I don't blame you if you have to go for it, but there's this one mindset shift that I want you to really consider, because 99% editors, what's their goal? It's to get a full-time position. But if you want to take the experience that I've had, like years of mistakes that I've made, I want you to switch your mindset from trying to get a full-time position to having your goal as a full-time income. Because editing is such a weird job, right? It's not like these normal office jobs where you have to be in this office every day for the next X amount of years. If you want, as an editor, bro, you could like fucking whore yourself out and just go with any creator that you want, right? If anything, at the same time. And sure, it might be looked down upon by so many people. It's like, oh, why are you going with so many creators? But honestly, not only do you make more money, but you actually improve a lot quicker as an editor. No one's gonna tell you this. I don't think I've heard anyone say it, but probably the quickest way to grow as an editor, like to actually improve your skills, it's to just work on more content and different types of content. So when you client hop and you're able to work with this creator that does long form, and this creator that does reacts, and then this TikToker, and then this short form, what happens is you have all these experiences, all this content that you've worked on, and you end up just being a more valuable editor because you've done everything, right? So it's pretty much like the more experience that you have, the more earning potential you have, right? And that's pretty obvious for most of us. But what's really interesting is when you decide to work with someone full time, you're still spending more time editing, but your earning potential kind of just plateaus because you're working on the same content every day naturally, because if it's one creator, he's gonna have probably one type of content, right? And what happens is you're not able to experiment and try new things, which is how we learn. So you're not able to increase your earning potential even though you're spending like however many months editing, because it's pretty much rinse and repeat after a while. And what happens to you as an editor is your skills no longer grow, but you're still spending time editing. And that turning point between your growth and suddenly starting to plateau is when you lock yourself down to one creator. It's when you put yourself in that full-time position. Because imagine there's two editors, right? So there's you who decided to go with the full-time position and you're like, okay, I'll cash myself out and I'll get my stable income, which is what everyone says. It's like, oh, I'm working with this creator full-time because I want a stable income. Okay, you got your stable income. But what happens to the guy that decides, no, I want to keep improving my skills, I want to go with different creators, go with different clients and genuinely improve how much like value my work has? Sure, he might like have a bit, it might be bumpy, right? Like here and there he has like a day or two without a video, or maybe someday a creator just gives him a video late or something like that, right? Maybe it's slightly less consistent. What happens over time is his earning potential, while you've plateaued here, his continues. Sure, it's bumpy, but after a long enough time period, bro, you're making 2-3 times less than the guy that's just experimenting with different content. Like I know editors that have fallen into this trap where this was like a year ago, so I was only making like 150 a video, and to a lot of you that might seem normal, but when you compare it to today where it's like I'm making 750 a video, and there were editors that were telling me like, oh, look at me, I'm making 250 a video, 300 a video, and I'm working for one creator. And they genuinely were trying to convince me to work full time. And it's something that I'm so glad that everything just went wrong for me. Like I tried to get full-time positions, but it just didn't work out, right? So it was coincidence in some sense that I was able to work with like multiple creators. I was able to client hop. And over time, what happened is, sure, I started at 150 and these guys were at like 250. But over time, bro, these guys were still stuck. I passed them. And then it's like after a while, I was charging like 500, 600, 700 pounds a video. And to think that that's something that I was making monthly when I first started. You need to understand that sure, you can make some money now, right? You could cash out and be like, I'll charge 150 to this creator and we'll have consistent uploads and everything. But what does that do to your growth as an editor? Because let's be honest, within 2 years, you're not going to be wanting to edit for 150 anymore, right? You're probably going to want to be like, okay, 500, 600 a video. Like that's a goal that you should have. And sure, people can say it's like shallow to think, oh, I just want to make money from editing, but bro, it's my job, it's your job. Let's just make a decent amount of money from it, right? Like we'd be lying to ourselves if we said we didn't want to make money from it. So do you really think it's a good idea to cash in your skills and start this plateau now at 150, 200? Or should you continue just working independently and not being locked down to a single creator and see where your potential takes you? Because you have a lot more potential than you think. Most editors think that they reached like 150, 200 and they think like, oh, I've reached a pinnacle. I remember I did, bro. I thought that £400 a month was the most I was ever gonna make. Looking back at it now, it's like, bro, what was I thinking? So you have a lot more potential than you think. All you have to do is like listen to the right people, learn the right skills, and genuinely you could be making so much more than you could even fathom. And I know a huge part of the reason I'm where I am today, a reason that not only am I making a decent amount, but I'm living life and I'm able to teach you guys as well. I was in the fortunate position to not cash out with a single creator and go full time with them. If I did, I don't think you'd be watching this right now. Like honestly, what I found is when you're working full time versus working almost on a freelance basis for a big creator, the work is pretty much consistent no matter what. Like after a while, sure, they'll miss a video here and there, but you're gonna have consistent work. So don't let people tell you that just because you're working full time you'll have consistent videos. You'll have consistent videos no matter what. However, there is one exception that I want to go through. It's a scenario where I think you would really benefit from going full time with a single creator. If you see a creator that not only is quite successful, but they're also like continuously growing and evolving in their content, there's a lot of potential that they're going to give their editors creative freedom. And when you have creative freedom, when you're able to try new things, it's essentially the same thing as going with new clients, right? You're still able to gain experience and increase your skills and income. When you do find a creator that gives you creative freedom and they treat you like a human being, which is another huge part, that's when I think there is really good potential to stick with them for the long run. This is something I found that happens especially with larger channels, and I found so much growth working with them long term, and it's something that I really like to emulate with my team. I don't want to be the reason that the editors that work with me stop growing. I want to be that sort of client that not only like gets them paid and everything, but I want them to grow as editors, because editing has genuinely changed so much in my life. Like, to think that I'm able to just sit at home and make like full-time income, I would love to be able to do that with the next generation. And I think the first step is to do it with the people that work with me. Not only are these guys learning like firsthand what it takes to be an editor, but they're able to be part of that process of teaching literally thousands of you guys what editing's really about. Because sure, there's thousands of tutorials on YouTube about how to edit, right? But no one's gonna tell you that weird stuff, these not so pretty topics of things like burnout and major career choices that you're gonna have to make. So that's the value that I want to provide to you guys. I don't make these videos to be like high performing, retention, hyper edits, but I just want to be able to tell you guys what I wish I knew about a year or two ago. Peace.